Alrighty. I'm going to talk on a little bit more positive note, and definitely a more practical note, about a theory Elbos has. Now, he doesn't like the idea of all the things in his RV that are slowly breaking down one by one. He likes the idea of having just a plain van. You call them conversion vans in the US, we just call them cargo van versus people mover, pretty much. Or cargo van versus just straight out van. And his idea is that it'd be better with a plain van or an empty van, whether it's a people mover or a cargo van, and everything he has in there is just portable. There's just stuff that's all individually put in there, not anything that's built in. So anyway, while that sort of sounds like a good idea, I believe he's really going the wrong way about the idea that he had. Not that he's actually doing this yet. But I remember he mentioned something that I should just go to California and just get Rosie. Go to Rosie and get Rosie to pull everything out of the van, of the Lisa Marie, and just have everything portable and as simple as possible. And yeah, that would be a terribly stupid idea. First of all, you're getting a van that is actually classed as an RV. Now, it has a lot of stuff that's broken down. You may have taken out the shower/toilet, but it's not that it couldn't be put back in again. The fact is that it holds its value in having all this stuff built in. Whether it works or not, whether, the stove needs new, propane lines, you need to put that extra sensor or just plug the hole in the water tank and play around with a lot of other things. It's still a van that has a built-in propane tank. It has a slot on the side for a generator to go into. It has a whole circus of stuff that is very compactly built in. Stuff that is wired up, like a separate coach battery. A separate battery for all your lights and stuff in the back. Propane lines going to your fridge, your stove, and your heater, if that even works still, your furnace, whatever you want to call it. That's its value, that and the low mileage. Now, probably nobody even wants the damn thing, really speaking, but it's America. People buy anything and everything in America. And the only reason that could be worth anything is because it's not an actual van, as in a cargo van. It's an RV. Its value is in all that shit that's built in by Coachman. The same shit he stupidly wants to take out. Now, I've got nothing wrong with the idea of having all this portable stuff that's sort of put in, because, hey, add that and a few cupboards and that's probably what my van would be like. And there's nothing wrong with that idea. There's nothing wrong with the idea of doing things simply. Living off grid, I will tell you that some things simple do not have much convenience. Like, for instance, you probably can't see it, but there's a wood heater over there. Now, it's not as convenient, but it is very, very simple. And of course, it's not bloody portable, it's damn heavy. But you know what I'm trying to say. He thinks that living simpler will be easier. Yeah, he thinks that living portable will be easier. Yeah, it is, because if it fucks up, if your stove fucks up, you just throw it out and get another one, you know. Well, those things. Because it's not built right into all the system and has only set tiny little space to fit into, and it's all piped through to the propane tank and all that with a regulator, blah blah. You know, it is simpler to use the portable stuff, but there are times where simpler actually means not as convenient. Now, if he's a smart cookie, which he isn't, what he would actually do is get that and don't take anything out, because you're dropping the value by doing so. So get it and sell it as an RV with things that need a little bit of maintenance. You know, a few propane lines redoing, a few little just bits and bobs that need messing with and whatever. And and go with that. It's rather late, very late actually. That's why I'm yawning so much. And, you know, this whole idea of strip the van out, well, first of all, you killed the value, but there's another thing I didn't mention too. That thing is a bloody V8. The fuel consumption is horrendous on that thing. According to NASA, it takes the same amount of fuel that his bloody big rig does when it's loaded. I mean, what the fuck? You're joking. Apparently not. So here's how you can kill a few birds with one stone. Sell that thing as an RV that needs to be fixed. It's got everything there except a shower toilet, but you know, it needs a few minor things done, maintenance things done. With the money from that, go and buy a basic people mover or cargo van. In the States, I think cargo vans are pretty cheap. Over here, cargo vans are never cheap because of, well, it's just all sort of set up tax-wise that commercial vehicles never end up being cheap because they're a business write-off. And it sort of bolsters the value of them ridiculously. So you're always better with a people mover. Well, whatever, you know, people mover, cargo van, whatever. And then put all your stuff in there. But when you're doing this, go and upgrade to something, you know, I'm not saying go get a Hyundai Trajet, but that's how it's supposed to be said. Most people say Trajet. I'm not saying go get one of those, but get a bit more realistic. Like, get down to A, bloody newer than 1989, but B, and most importantly, something with low fuel consumption. Now I'm sitting there with a 2.7 litre V6. In terms of vans, that's pretty good, because you really only have the Chryslers that are 3.3 litre, and there was a Kia for about 2 or 3 years that actually was 3.8 litre, and they have them here as well as taxis, but they're propane converted because the original engines in that van are fucking terrible consumption of fuel. So anyway, his best bet would be to get a cargo van or a people mover, preferably newer, with a mileage that's not too high, but in the process, get something with a decent fuel consumption. You know, my van isn't too bad, but there's other ones out there like, you know, your high aces and stuff like that. You know, you're talking 2.5 litre, 2 litre, if you look at a thing Minivan Vince has, a Suzuki APV, they're all manual. And strangely enough, they're like mine, where it's all car doors, no sliding doors in it. And they actually only have the front 2 seats. But the most interesting thing of all is that's a 1.6 litre. And I believe it's a 4-speed manual. The fuel consumption would be brilliant. But if you don't want to have a manual, and they're only made in manual, well then, you know, go and get something else. A Hi-Ace, some Mitsubishi van, something that's realistic on fuel consumption. Because all this, oh well, Elbos travels. Well, he doesn't travel fuck all, because you're dying in fuel costs. Here we are, oh, struggling to survive, living day to day. You know, living on $2 Walmart lasagnas at one point you were. And yet you're driving something that's got a fuel consumption of a fucking big rig. Like, get fucking real, you know? Get something that's not some god-awful massive V8, you know, and things might start to go. You know, you don't need like 351 cubic inch fucking just to tow around a hollow box with a few bits and bobs and a water tank and a propane tank and a generator, you know? And let's face it, like, how much weight is a fucking bed and a fucking propane stove? Jack shit. You know, you'd be a lot better to move in that direction of just getting a people mover or a cargo van and, you know, going ahead with that, with portable stuff in there, with something with good fuel consumption, because it's over time, fuel consumption is a real money killer, you know, and I think that's what he should be aiming for. But anyway, he'll just bumble around and, you know, there's like Trial Media says, all he ever does is consume, and I'll add to it, and destroy. And he won't make that van better. All he'll do is just destroy it. And if he can fuck it up even further by ripping everything out, then he will fuck it up even further. You know, and it's just, you know, should be going to something with low fuel consumption and fairly good mileage on it, not some old thing from, you know, the end of the 80s that's got horrendous bloody fuel consumption, you know.